Welcome to this Executive Explainer. For the past few years, the golden rule in enterprise tech was incredibly simple. Artificial intelligence gets cheaper every single quarter, so just rent it from the cloud. Never, ever buy the hardware. Well, spoiler alert, as we're going to see today, the economics of applied AI engineering have drastically changed, and that old assumption, it has completely broken down. The actual price of thinking is shifting beneath our feet, and organizations that don't adapt their infrastructure strategy right now are basically staring down the barrel of massive operational cost spikes.
Here is the roadmap for today's briefing. We'll cover 1. The cloud AI price shock. 2. The private AI solution. 3. Evaluating AI hardware options. 4. Calculating your break-even point. 5. Future timelines and outlook. And 6. The CETUS playbook.
Section 1. The cloud AI price shock. The end of budget AI. Okay, let's dive into this. We really need to start by looking at the harsh reality of rising operational costs in the cloud. Because what happened over just a 60-day window in early 2026 completely rewired the enterprise AI landscape. So I want to throw this disruptive question right out there from the get-go. Is the era of cheap cloud AI over? We've built entire business models, startup ecosystems, and automated workflows around this one core idea. We thought we could just keep throwing millions of tokens at cloud APIs without a second thought, because hey, they were practically free. We just assumed they'd keep getting cheaper. But the data is showing us that this budget AI era is rapidly coming to a close. Just to wrap your head around the scale of this shock, look at this number, 6 times. Back in May of 2026, XAI just completely axed their budget model tier. 9 days notice. That's it. If your business was running on their cheaper API, your traffic was automatically redirected to a premium model. Boom, an overnight, totally silent 6x price shock. And then Google hiked their Gemini list prices shortly after, and Anthropic started putting expiration dates on their introductory rates. So the crucial takeaway here is this. A budget cloud tier is basically just a flashy promotion. It is not a contract. If your product's unit economics rely on a promotional API rate, your margin is literally one deprecation email away from being wiped out. Section 2. The private AI solution. Shifting the paradigm. So what's the move when you're trapped by unpredictable cloud pricing? It's time to shift the paradigm. The reality is you absolutely do not need an expensive, massive frontier model to run every single background task in your business. For most high-volume automated work, a private 30 billion parameter class reasoning model is more than enough to get the job done. And that brings us to the core of the modern enterprise strategy, agentic AI. Let's make sure we are exactly on the same page here, because we are not talking about simple chatbots. Agentic AI is a workforce of purpose-built AI agents that connect to your proprietary data, learn your operational patterns, and actually execute workflows autonomously. The highest value use of AI today isn't just having it answer questions for you, it's having it do the actual work, step by step, without waiting on a human bottleneck. This fundamentally changes how we deploy software. The old way of doing things, that meant endlessly renting super expensive cloud compute, bolting AI onto clunky legacy software, manually configuring systems, and dealing with all these fragmented data silos. Contrast that with what we call the CETUS way. Using their RapX platform, you actually move to owned private inference. You deploy adaptive, autonomous agents that basically configure themselves and offer proactive intelligence. They're fixing problems before a customer even notices. It's a massive shift from a reactive, money-burning setup to incredibly lean, proactive private execution. Section 3, Evaluating AI Hardware Options, the 2026 Showdown. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why we have to talk about physical infrastructure right now. Moving away from the cloud means making some practical engineering decisions. So, the old tech assumptions are totally upside down now. We basically have 3 paths for local models. Option A is your $300 Raspberry Pi 5 setup. Awesome for tiny edge sensor tasks, but absolutely no way it handles real reasoning models. Option B is Apple Silicon, specifically the Mac Mini or Studio, sitting right between $2,000 and $2,700. It is an amazing, always-on unified memory powerhouse. But then look at option C, the custom PC build using a 7900 XTX GPU. Get this, because of the massive global DRAM shortage right now in 2026, building a DIY parts bin tower is actually the most expensive route, ringing in at around $3,550. Just the 64 gigs of RAM alone will cost you nearly $900. Apple locked in their memory supply at scale, which literally makes them cheaper than building a rig yourself. Let's actually look at the raw performance data using our standard 2026 workhorse model, QN 3.635B. Yes, that expensive $3,500 custom tower totally crushes it on raw speed. We're talking over 100 tokens per second. The Mac Mini M4 Pro, it hums along at about 32 tokens per second. But keep in mind, human reading speed is roughly 10 tokens a second. So while the tower wins on max throughput and prompt prefill, that Mac Mini is completely silent, barely sips electricity, and honestly remains the undisputed king of value and power efficiency for a localized agent appliance. Section 4. Calculating your break-even point. The math of ownership. Let's shift gears from tech specs to the executive metrics. How does this impact your unit economics, your ROI, and your total cost of ownership? Because the math of owning your AI is just staggering. Sean Ennis, the CEO of Citus Technologies, hit the nail on the head. He perfectly summarized it, saying the price of thinking is changing. Controlling your own inference hardware isn't some cute weekend IT project anymore. It is your absolute best financial hedge against a cloud vendor's unpredictable roadmap. When you own the box, you own the pricing. Simple as that.
And guys, here's the absolute punchline of this entire explainer. 6 days. If you've got a busy agent fleet chewing through, say, 20 million tokens a day, which by the way happens super fast when autonomous agents are looping through complex tasks, a $1,999 Mac Mini hits its full ROI break-even point against a frontier cloud model in exactly 6 days. 6! Even at moderate volume, replacing a budget reasoning cloud tier, the machine pays for itself in just a few months. And once that hardware is paid off, every single token it spits out is basically free.
Section 5. Future timelines and outlook. The supply crunch. Obviously, math this good doesn't stay a secret for long. Let's pivot to the market urgency, because the industry has completely caught on to these unit economics, triggering massive supply shortages. The demand for agentic AI has just completely obliterated the supply. On a recent earnings call, Apple's CEO straight up confirmed that the Mac Mini and Mac Studio, which are now the absolute default appliances for local AI, are heavily constrained. People are literally hoarding these machines. We are seeing 10 to 12-week wait times for high memory configurations. Apple has even started jacking up prices on base models just because they can. The window to grab cheap private intelligence is open, but wow, it is narrowing fast. So let's map out the hardware timeline to see where things are headed. We've got AMD's Ryzen AI Max Plus dropping in Q3 of 2026. Everybody is also eyeing the M5 Mac Minis, expected around October or November. And looking further out to late 2026 and 2027, LPDDR6 memory is going to bring massive leaps in bandwidth. But, and this is a critical takeaway, waiting around for those M5 Macs is a massive financial mistake. When a current M4 machine literally pays for itself in a matter of weeks, every single month you wait for the next big thing is just another month of incredibly expensive cloud API bills that you could have entirely avoided. Section 6. The Citus Playbook, Leading the Agentic Era. All right, this brings us to our strategic wrap-up. You understand the cloud pricing trap, you see the hardware ROI, but how do you actually implement this transition? That is exactly where the Citus Playbook comes in. Citus Technologies acts as this sort of universal translator to make applied AI engineering a reality in your business. Citus doesn't just hand you off-the-shelf software and wish you luck, they engineer outcomes using a rapid, proven 5-step model. First, a free consultation to really get your business. Second, they run an ROI savings calculator on your specific data, so you model the exact financial impact before you spend a dime. Third, they define those exact high-value workflows to target. Fourth, they deploy their RapHex agents to actually execute the tasks. And fifth, continuous optimization so the platform just keeps learning and getting better over time. They guarantee speed to value in weeks, delivering measurable hard dollar outcomes. Here's the final piece of architectural advice from the Citus Playbook. You've got to blend your strategy. You want to route 80 to 90% of your total token volume, that high-volume repetitive grunt work, straight to your private owned hardware. Just crush those operational costs. Save the ultra-expensive frontier cloud models only for the rare tasks that actually need that level of firepower. Basically, treat cloud budget tiers as spot capacity for overflow. Absolutely do not make them the core foundation of your architecture. So, we've seen how fast the economics of AI are changing, and the tools to harness it securely and affordably are sitting right in front of us today. I'll leave you with this final thought to consider for your own organization. As the agentic era accelerates, are you going to lead this operational transformation, or will you be forced to play catch-up when your cloud bill spiral completely out of control? The math is clear, the hardware is ready, and the strategy is proven.
Thanks for joining me for this explainer.